But yeah, holy shit. As you guys know, Brianna Joy Gray has been kind of the main character of online political discourse over the last week or so because she was let go from The Hills Rising, where she co-hosted a show with Robbie Suave for at least the past couple years. She's been really, really tough on Israel. Obviously, for good reason, totally justified, pointing out their war crimes and our complicity in their genocide of Palestinians. Due to that, The Hill being the corporate establishment news outlet that it is, they let her go. And most people rallied around Brie, most people that consider themselves on the left, but honestly, not even people on the left. We're about to take a look at this Candace Owens interview. Candace Owens found solidarity with Brianna Joy Gray. Most people on the progressive left obviously did. Most people that care about free speech did. But notably, one free speech absolutist, one free speech warrior, Matt Taibbi,
First Amendment crusader himself, the Matt Meister, the big guy, the big cheese over there in New Jersey.
Yeah, he had a different take, a surprisingly, different opinion on this whole situation.
Bro, when I saw this, I couldn't believe my eyes. So let me backpedal for a second. We're going to get into how ridiculous it is that this guy is so sensitive, that this guy is so thin-skinned. I love it. I have to imagine. So I'm at the end of an 11-hour shift yesterday. I'm at the end of like an 11.5-hour bartending shift, right? Where I shake martinis for the masses, right? I don't sit at home in my shit-stained underwear with a half-empty bottle of Lagavulin, staying up all night, fucking hacking away, like it's letting my haters know about it while I collect royalty checks from the books I wrote back in the day when I had principles, right? Before I started suckling from the tit of the world's richest man, taking stories from him when I knew I shouldn't. Instead, now I spend my days malding, coping, and seething at anybody who dares point out the fact that I compromised on every principle, value, or ethic I once had as a journalist, right? And all of that considered, we see this guy trot out. He's decided that after Brianna Joy Gray has been fired from The Hill for having the courage to say what we all know is going on in Palestine, for having the courage to challenge a woman on air who was trying to weaponize a hoax story of sexual violence perpetrated in mass against women, which we know is true, and we don't have any evidence that it happened. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to try and use that as a woke scold on you on the way out. Brianna just didn't accept it, right? And that was the final straw. We've seen the, insane amounts of emails that the bots sent to Brianna's Patreon when apparently they thought they were trying to reach the Patreon headquarters or whatever to try and, get her off the platform. You can only imagine how many of those bots were able to successfully reach the editors at The Hill, right? So anyway,
it was a totally coordinated campaign of
100%
Zionist bots to try to get her fired, which was successful. And, as we said before, I think that Brianna knew that was going to happen. If anything, I kind of think she was hoping it would happen. I don't think she wanted to stay at The Hill for that much longer. I think she was, kind of looking forward to, crossing that line and getting herself terminated. Again, not by doing anything genuinely problematic, but just by being honest and speaking the truth about Israel, which is a big no-no in the mainstream media. But that being said, she obviously was fired for her commentary on Israel. And it's pretty rich of Matt Taibbi to take the opportunity, instead of writing an article about that, instead of writing an article about how this represents the latest in a long trend of journalists getting fired for being anti-war, something that Matt Taibbi has written about at length. I remember we talked to our friend Tyrell Ventura about how him and his father, Jesse Ventura, were on Matt Taibbi's call-in show at the time to discuss how they had been censored. Jesse working at MSNBC back in the day, and then even more recently at RT America when that shut down, stuff like that. So, Matt Taibbi really, he really cares about people getting fired for saying things that you're not supposed to on mainstream platforms. Definitely when
not
it comes
as much
to,
as he loves stroking his own ego, right? And this guy's been burned and bruised a lot publicly. He's been humiliated. This is a man scorned, right? And he's out for vengeance. And a lot of people have been pointing out in our chat that his career has been like a Sunday morning cartoon from the 90s, where it's just like a guy falling and hitting every single obstacle on the way down. We've talked about about this most recent faceplant. There was obviously the infamous Mehdi Hassan exchange where he just gets super butthurt and triggered. The Brianna Joy Gray incident. the list goes on. Anyway, sad to see, because as we've pointed out a million times, I've really learned a lot from Matt Taibbi. I've read basically all of his books. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have said that he was one of the sharpest minds in America. So, never take anybody too seriously, guys. Never take, good work for granted. But anyway, this is an insane opener. And Gavin, this was your tweet, so I'll let you read it. But the fact that this isn't satire, when I first read this, I want you to believe, Gavin, because again, like I said, a bartender over here that Matt Taibbi is getting triggered by. Gavin, a art filmmaker from Kansas City and part-time podcast host, right? It's like, here we go. These are the people that are the colleagues and contemporaries of Matt Taibbi. Now, welcome to the bottom, buddy. Get used to eating algae for dinner, okay? There aren't any steaks around here to feast on, buddy. I hope you enjoy the life of the broke boy, because you're finishing your career here, rock bottom. Anyway, I thought this was satire. I thought that Gavin was trolling him. I thought it was brilliant trolling. I read it. I said, I'm opening this piece because she's claiming now to be the victim of Hill's bad ethics. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This sounds like something Matt would write, right? I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, Gavin's cooking. And then I click on his article and I realize it's real. This was a legitimate Matt Taibbi quote. And I am like, bro, this guy, he's lost his marbles, man. Yeah. It's Jover for Matt. So anyway, if you guys, Gavin, go ahead and take the wheel. But yeah,
I was just going to zoom in just a tiny bit on this page.
Oh yeah, here, I got it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is an actual quote from the article, and feel free to read the entirety of the article if you guys want to. It's basically just Matt Taibbi rehashing this petty personal beef he has with Brianna Joy Gray, because like 6 months ago on Rising, she was criticizing his Twitter files reporting, and she said that Matt Taibbi revealed one piece of information a few months after he apparently actually did reveal said piece of information. So she got the timeline like a month or two off, something completely insignificant and petty. But just like the gaslighter he is, Matt Taibbi wants to ignore all of her actual substantive criticisms to hyper focus and hyper fixate on like this one error that she supposedly made, an error that she apologized for on air when he came onto the Hill to antagonize her and to huff and puff and call her out. Brianna said, hey, if I made a mistake, then I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to smear you. I won't keep making that same mistake going forward. But that should have been the end of the story.
Well, he wanted her to walk back every single point that she'd made, and he didn't have the receipts to force her to walk back every single point that she'd made. And so she was obviously not going to, and her broader point still stood. And this was when, Matt Taibbi was kind of doing like a media. He probably himself, like, to be charitable to the guy, even though I don't know why we would, he probably felt like he was under a media firing squad. And I want him to understand that's because he was under a media firing squad. And that's what he did to himself when he decided to be the PR guy for not only the richest, but also one of the most hated men in America after he walked back every single one of his promises. Oh, and by the way, Gavin, we haven't even brought up this scandal. Do you remember when Matt Taibbi demonstrated that he had less journalistic ethics, less commitment to free speech, and less commitment to opposing censorship than none other than Barry Weiss?
Yep.
None other than Barry Weiss, who refused to keep working for Elon Musk after he tried to squash her dissent, after he tried to censor her. Matt said, no, I'm going to keep sucking this guy's cock. I think there's a load at the end for me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Jesus Christ, like, what do you think's going to happen?
And the fucked up thing is that the load at the end was Twitter becoming even worse and even more censorious than it was before.
Hey,
like, I was never
a Greg Gutfeld, performance in his honor, an original.
Yeah. Either way, it's just crazy because like I was never a defender necessarily of the original Twitter, like the Jack Dorsey Twitter. I was like, yeah, I'm sure there is censorship going on, specifically of left-wing anti-establishment voices. Of course, just like on every social media, that's going to happen, unfortunately. But to be honest, I downright miss the old Twitter. I would love if Twitter today was like how it used to be before Elon Musk got involved and fucked the whole thing up. Let in all the bots, fucked up the verification system. He just completely destroyed this app. It's basically not even
likes are
usable
private now. We don't get to know what kind of shit that Ted Cruz is up to. What the fuck, man? Taking away everything that was good in life, man. I'll tell you what. The algorithm's all fucked up. Do you remember for like 10 weeks solid, about 2.5 months, it was just overrun by the worst ads you've ever seen in your entire life. Like shit you would never use. Like, here's this rocket powered fishing rod. Don't even have to cast it. Just press that dang button and it'll electrocute every dang fish around just like Homer Simpson. It's just stupid shit. Or like different variations of Zyn pouches. Like this has, mushroom coffee in it instead of tobacco, or
those like stupid Cheech and Chong gummies and shit like that.
Exactly. Just dumb shit. It was constant. That's what Gavin was getting recommended. You could tell the algorithm was working at least a little bit by the time, you started paying attention. It's like, okay, how far off was it? I was getting recommended like oversized Frisbees from the 2000s, boots that you can wear when you're going in the creek. I'm like, oh, this is, what have I been watching? I've been watching too many Bush
go back
people
to
videos.
Matt's tweet. Because if you guys look at this original, So this is the tweet where he puts his article out there. And again, his article is not about the fact that Brianna Joy Gray just got fired for being anti-war. It's about a list of errors that she made. A list
of personal petty grievances.
Yeah, straight up. Just a bunch of personal petty grievances. And he goes on to say this: I'm opening this piece because she's claiming now to be a victim of the Hill's bad ethics. Again, it's not just that she's claiming to be anything. She literally was fired by the Hill for being anti-war. It's not a matter of like, her pretending to be a victim or whatever. Like she just said what happened. Anyway, Matt Taibbi, and then he goes on to say, when she herself clearly has a problem and shouldn't be on air. So even though Brianna Joy Gray is an opinion commentator, that was the role she was playing on the Hill, an opinion commentator, because you didn't like her fucking opinion and you didn't like the way she characterized your professional business relationship with Elon Musk, you're saying she shouldn't be on the air? Like, that's outrageous. It's one thing to say, hey, I feel like this was unfair. Hey, I feel like, she should have had me back on so I could say my piece. I don't think this was a good way to go about the situation. That's one thing. We all have our grievances. I could say the same thing about some of Brianna's coverage. I haven't agreed with everything she's ever said, but I would never, ever about almost anyone say that they clearly shouldn't be on air, let alone someone who was just censored for being anti-war. That's just such a slap in the face to all of these like pro free speech, First Amendment kind of values you've been virtue signaling about over the last like at least 5 years, if not your entire career.
I mean, we would be having a serious debate on this podcast as leftists, as end of the road lefties. I mean, it doesn't get more dirtbag and trash than us. We're poor, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like, of course we'll fucking socialize everything, right? We'll adopt Matt's framework. I want the royalties. I'll just squat in his house, right? I'll just, Gavin and I'll overrun it. It'll be the Casa del Vanguard one day, when the lefties like us rule the world. Anyway, what's crazy is that you wouldn't, in spite of all of your fucking, in whatever grievances you could come up with, say, let's go through Brianna's entire career and say that we've agreed with 85% of what she said and disagreed with 15%. Why on earth would you be so fucking selfish? Why would you be so obtuse? Why would you be so fucking immoral and just cringy to make that the entire point right now? I'm going to take the opportunity when this person's just gotten royally fucked for something that I claim to oppose, right? And then say that she shouldn't be on air when Gavin and I wouldn't even be having this conversation about Alex Jones, right? As the leftiest of lefties, as the guys who hate Alex Jones more than anything, I think we would say that he has the right to free speech. You can't take away his right to free speech. You could say you don't want to host him. That would be your right. You could say that I don't want him on YouTube. I don't want him on Spotify. I don't want him anywhere. But you can't take away his right to talk.
Yeah.
Right. And so obviously, like, you could agree with the Hill's decision to part ways with her, but you were agreeing with them over ways to part ways with her because of the war machine's effort, because of the United States' intense partnership with Israel as they perpetuate a fucking ethnic cleansing in Palestine, and her opposition to that, and her intensity and her fearlessness and her, inability to be intimidated by the fuckers that, wanted her to shut up. And she didn't care if she lost her job. Like, that's badass. That's awesome.
Yep.
Right. And so why would you now take the time to do pot shots at her? Like, that's stupid. That's selfish, especially somebody with your platform. Like, Gavin and I wouldn't even feel right doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we'll make a fucking joke here or there, a snide comment for sure, because we do that to everybody. That's fair. Fair is fair. But you taking out time to like maliciously come out with every single one of your grievances, and clearly he's sensitive about it, guys, because he's been up for the last like 24 hours, just live nonstop tweeting at random fuckers like us who have the balls to challenge him. So this is what's crazy. We've never gotten in. We've tweeted at Matt Taibbi a lot, and I know he sees them. This is all building, right? We've poked and prodded, because I just hate it when people like him finally get an opportunity to sell out and run to the right wing, and then they do. There's something about the Gen X male mind that just really started to unravel after COVID-19. Like, they saw a trans person playing fucking sports and living their life, and then a guy had a mask on coming out, and it was like, you know, that sequence in Jason Bourne where now he snapped and he's not the same guy anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what happened in their warped psychology. I don't know if there was some government fucking, you know, experimenting that was going on with 80s television, right? That somehow sent you guys subliminal messages. And then during the pandemic, when you were at home, it was augmented and triggered. And now you guys are living in your own reality. I can only imagine that it was something along those lines, because I can't tell what the fuck else it would be, because the Gen X male mind as really it's the bottom's falling out, guys. I'm sorry. Oops, this isn't what I'm looking for exactly. Let's see. Let's go back to the next tweet from Matt, because he follows up with us really quickly. Let's see here. He says, and this is clever. This is that kind of prose that people always went to Matt for. This is that illuminating mind that he's really lyrical. You know what I mean? He really, really lives up to his name here. So you two dipshits think it's okay to just lie about people on here. I'm sorry, that's a bad Matt Taibbi. So you two dipshits just think that it's okay to just lie about people on air. Explains a lot. Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is the best you've got? We just fucking roasted you over the coals. We just caught you with your pants down, bent you over, and gave you a fucking swirly. We just shredded your entire journalistic credibility. And so you think it's just okay to lie, kids? You think it's just okay to lie? How do you do, fellow kids? I have no idea how to do the dozens, because I'm a boomer now. I've sold my soul to the Fox News devil. I'm a Gret Gutfelder. Now, speaking of which, I don't even think we can play this clip now, because they fucking demonetized us. So let's just watch, and you guys can read along. I'm so sorry.
Matt Taibbi.
Yeah, there you go. Gavin's going to sing.
I've made fun of you for years. I feel ashamed.
Sounds just like Paul.
I'm so sorry. Matt Taibbi.
Mm-hmm.
I've memorized this whole thing. But I've seen the light, and so tonight I want to praise your name.
That's what I want to hear from Fox News. I was thinking about this, Gavin.
Sorry.
I was thinking about this, Gavin, and there's only one, like, Greg Gutfeld backed him up into a wall, right? And there's only one thing that you could do, and that's end this like King of Comedy. You have to go full.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
You have to go full Joaquin Phoenix, and at the end of the Joker, and just turn around and shoot that man with a gun. That's his only option. That was his only pathway out. And after he didn't do that, his soul was after he clapped along and left, he actually looked. This is the face of a man that looked like he thoroughly enjoyed that. Yep. Oh my God, look at him. No wonder. Oh God, he's already lost his hair. That's another side effect. You know, once you've chosen not to live in the 21st century and apply the appropriate amount of biotin, it starts eroding brain cells next.
Yep. And by the way, this is the perfect clip to post. If you guys haven't seen this actual clip, like I said, we're in fear of being demonetized since it's like a parody of this Paul McCartney song or something. But do look at our Twitter account and watch this whole clip, because it's so gloriously cringy. And of course, not only is it the perfect clip to post in response to this, because it's so humiliating that someone is, cringy as a Greg Gutfeld is now his homie, and felt the need to apologize to him sincerely over
in the form of song,
in the form of this boomer ass fucking cringe song. Yeah,
serenading him live on air.
But it's also perfect because Matt Taibbi is over here fucking pearl clutching about lying on air. Bro, your new home is Fox News. Fox fucking News.
Fox News isn't even a news outlet, Matt Taibbi. In case you're curious, let's talk about that. Because you're pretty up in arms about how two guys like us are capable of talking shit, right? And he also doesn't understand. So let's just tell a story to everybody. Let's just unpack this, because I imagine, let's just talk to Matt directly. Matt, you're from another generation. You're from another time. I want to talk to you in terms you do know. You remember the sports radio era. I know Matt remembers talk sports radio. Used to be fucking king of the castle. King of the fucking castle. The talk radio guys, they dominated. And do you know who fucking hated their guts, man? Do you know who fucking hated their guts more than anything, more than any of the players, more than any of the fans from rival teams that they constantly shat all over? Do you know who fucking hated the talk radio guys that covered sports, Gavin?
Who?
The newspaper sports columnists.
Oh, yeah.
They fucking hated their guts. Do you know why they hated their guts, Gavin?
Because the fucking commentators were probably way funnier. And
they were way funnier. They got way more engagement, and they did no work. They did absolutely no work besides watching the sport that they loved, commenting on it, being engaging and entertaining.
It's just like the streamers versus the video essayists.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to get to. There was a big divide, right? Because they couldn't accept the fact that the people who were on talk radio, on sports radio, they were there to entertain the fans. They were there to be loyalists. If I had an audience of people from Kansas City, fuck every other team but the Royals. I fucking hate every other team but the Chiefs, right? Fuck the Raiders. Fuck everybody else. Fuck the Broncos. I want them all to fail. Squash them all. I don't care how big the market gets. Fuck everybody else. That racist scumbag Skip Bayless, right? He's still a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. Anyway, right? Like those guys that came up in that era, they had one job, and that was to entertain you. Right. It was all about being the most captivating. Right. That's how Stephen A. became huge on TV. It was about being captivating. It wasn't because he was a hardened journalist. Right. It's different. Right. So they would constantly piss and moan and say, "You're not real journalists." And it's like, yeah, no, dude, I'm a talk radio host. I talk about sports for a living. So these guys, oh, you think it's okay to just fucking, you don't understand, bro. We are here to read your work and talk about it. You can constantly take shots at me and be like, oh, you're not a real journalist. You'll never have credentials like me. You'll never write a book. Bro, I don't want to. I don't want to write for a newspaper. That's what people who are old and ready to become irrelevant do. Okay. All right. I'm a guy with no credentials, no college degree. I shake martinis for a living, and I've got 450 people watching me make fun of your stupid boomer ass, because that's how humiliating you've become. That's how fucking low you've fallen. You have hit rock bottom, son.
Yep. And it's funny because I feel like most of Matt Taibbi's colleagues or people that at one point he would have been proud to associate with, they're also just 100% defending Brianna Joy Gray. No one else is concerned with this dumb, petty fucking grievance he has from like 6 months ago. Like you look at, Katie Halper, for example. Obviously, Katie used to co-host Useful Idiots with Matt Taibbi. Do you think she gives a fuck about this? Of course not. She hasn't said a single thing about it because she understands that it's completely irrelevant unless you're Matt Taibbi and have a massive fucking ego and can't stand that someone criticized you 6 months ago. Look at someone like Glenn Greenwald. Has he been concerned about this? No, he doesn't give a fuck, because he understands that the more important issue is the fact that Brie's firing represents yet another mainstream media outlet censoring the pro-Palestinian viewpoint. That's what's important. No one but Matt Taibbi gives a shit about this because it's completely irrelevant, and everyone understands that Brie is an opinion commentator. She was giving her opinion about Matt Taibbi, and even if he doesn't think it was fair the way that she described or characterized his interactions with Elon Musk, it doesn't matter. It doesn't like destroy her journalistic credibility. It doesn't justify her censorship or her firing. And it's just wild that he's still the only one talking about this. He's the only one that's ever been talking about it. And I have a strong feeling that he actually wrote this dumb article like probably a week or two ago before Brie got fired. He was hoping it would be some big bombshell, but then she did get fired and everyone started rallying around her immediately, which really triggered him because now everyone's praising this person he was about to expose, quote unquote. Either way, it's so petty. It's so fucking juvenile. And again, just to completely throw all of your values out the window as far as censorship concerns. Like this guy literally has a whole segment on his fucking podcast or Substack or whatever that's called like Meet the Censored. You know what I'm saying? Where he talks to like right wingers who got fucking censored for being a TERF or some shit. And he'll bitch and moan and say, boo-hoo, I can't believe this happened. Oh. But are you going to have Briahna on Meet the Censored, Matt?
Yeah. Hilarious. Yeah, I can't wait to see him host a show on Fox News and talk about how fucking censorship is, never okay, and that there's no instances where you should. It's crazy too, because he's literally out here. He wants to be the supreme crusader for the First Amendment, and now he's clamoring for people to lose their right to be on air as commentators. It's like, bro, what the fuck is the matter with you? You have no consistent values. You just want to appease your audience of deranged fucking, 55-year-old balding gentlemen. Yeah. People who think that America's left them behind. Like, it's crazy how you all became Archie Bunker. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't learn any fucking lessons from your parents at all. Yep. Okay? Matt needs to go back and rewatch Reality Bites and remember when his generation had aspirations.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think where this all comes from is just a deep insecurity on Matt's part. I think that Matt knows the Twitter files was total bullshit. I think he knows that it was a big blotch on his credibility. And I also think that just every time he gets on Twitter, he's reminded of the fact that, oh yeah, I spent a significant chunk of my fucking career manufacturing consent for a platform that now doesn't even let me post my own Substack articles, or if I do, they get like freaking shadow banned in the algorithm. Elon Musk literally, tried to fuck this man's career on the way out by reducing traffic to his Substack.
We haven't even fucking talked about that yet. Not only that, Matt Taibbi literally, this is great, guys. This is gravy. Google it. It's real. You can literally find a screenshot because Matt tweeted it out himself. He actually thought it exonerated him. Yep. He was so delusional, so warped and fucked up. I don't know. I don't want to speculate what kind of cognitive state the man was in. Probably under the influence of intense psychedelic regime. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to speculate, but we're still waiting on the details to emerge. I'm sure that it'll be uncovered in due time. Yes, absolutely. We're gonna stay hot on that. Don't worry, Matt. We're gonna put our journalistic credentials on the line, and we're. So anyway, after all of that, and after Elon Musk had he said that he was going to allow the jet tracker guy to keep posting it. This is just an innocuous example that also comes to mind. He violated that. All of this was too much for even Barry Weiss, guys, former New York Times columnist. Okay. But Matt Taibbi saw no problem with it until it bit him in the fucking ass. Like, how thick do you have to be? You have to be a total mark to believe Matt Taibbi at this point. And he is his own biggest mark. And that's what I think is so sad about the fucking parable of Matt Taibbi. I think he just started smelling his own farts too much. He became fucking drunk on his own fucking, emissions.
Yep.
And fucking Lagavulin, probably.
Yeah. And before we move on, let's just quickly scroll through Matt's feed and see what he's been talking about over the last 12 to 24 hours, because most of these tweets that we're referencing are from last night that started popping off around like 7 or 8 p.m. I think is when I hit up Zach and it was like, LOL, do you see Matt Taibbi mauling on Twitter? Let's take a look if he's moved on, if he has any other thoughts, or if this is his singular fucking, this is where he's at. Yeah, every single thing is just responding to random
I think
people.
He just didn't want us to feel special anymore, so we had to start responding to just everybody on the internet. He's like, can't give these goons clout for thinking that they triggered me. I'll just let everyone trigger me. But him and Briahna have been going back and forth. This had nothing to do with Matt Taibbi here.
Literally.
I mean, I guess it kind of did. But only by extension because of his association with the Twitter files, right? So he's basically in love with the Twitter files still, even though all he did was massive PR campaign that was largely a failure for Twitter. And then he got chucked out by Elon Musk like a used condom. But anyway, Briahna says, so during the Trump administration, the government made phony Twitter accounts to influence Filipinos to distrust the vaccine they received from China in order to undermine China's influence in the region. Twitter files included important reporting, but this is why, if we can open that really quick. But this is why overly broad claims that government influence was all pro-vax misinformation from libs targeting conservative leading skeptics should have been avoided. Government censorship follows power, not basic partisanship, and selective framing driven by selective document disclosure can make you an unwitting tool of misinformation yourself. This is a heroic fucking slam dunk response, by the way, to all the haters. This is a fucking so I guess in the business we call this a sub tweet. Right. So this is the final nail in the coffin of why everybody, not just Matt, right? She's not just talking about Matt. Everybody who was involved in the Twitter files was playing themselves. Right. That's why I said Elon Musk was his own mark. Right. Matt Taibbi was his own biggest mark. Barry Weiss was a mark until she woke up to it, and that's what's extra humiliating to Matt Taibbi is that he was the last one to wake up. He was, joke was on him.
And look at this projection. He says, "Are you really going to continue to do this forever? Just apologize for getting some things wrong and move on. Going after me like it's my fault you screwed up is pathological."
What's pathological is your response to this, bro. You're unhealthy. Yep. You're a grown man. Okay. You're like, what the fuck is the matter with you? Yep. Let it go. It's like,
it's clearly you're the one that can't move on. You're the one that's still talking about something that's so fucking irrelevant that we have to explain the context to our audience every time we bring it up because it's such a fucking terminally online beef to talk about that no one fucking gives a shit. Like, we have to make it exciting by rehashing all of this context every time so you understand how insane this is for Matt Taibbi. But yeah, you're the only one that cares about it, bro. You're the only one that cares about it. Brie didn't even like our tweet. She didn't even retweet us when we went after him. She's not trying to get in the muck. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to distance herself from you, this whole situation. You're the one that keeps dredging up this bullshit because you were furious over the fact that she criticized you. And I would say he learned this insecurity, this pettiness. I would say that maybe, he learned it from Elon Musk, that Elon rubbed off on him a little bit. But we all know that Matt's always been this way. We all know that he threw coffee in the face.
The coffee incident. LOL, Matt can't throw coffee through a monitor. Maybe he's tried. Maybe that,
Yeah, but anyway, he's just been molding.
I think he needs to read this quote. One of my all-time favorite Tyler the Creator quotes. Ha ha ha! How the fuck is cyberbullying real? Ha ha ha! Just walk away from the screen. Like, close your eyes. Ha ha ha! Like, that's what Matt needed to read. Oh wait, sorry, that didn't even come up. There we go. That's what I was trying to show.
Yeah. An iconic tweet, by the way.
One of the all-time great. This is how you know that Twitter's been off forever. When was the last time you saw a Tyler the Creator tweet go viral? Right? Like, when was the last time that shit just showed up to you? When was the last time Tyler tweeted? June. I guess he does tweet still, but it's never relevant. You know what I mean? It's like it's all a bunch of bullshit. It's not like people used to for real use Twitter back in the day. I don't know. That's what I'm nostalgic for, Matt. That's what I miss.
Yeah, and he's so fucking mad about this. I didn't even realize, but there's 10 tweets where he's just like,
I know,
Brie, dude. Hey Brie, you're wrong. Why are you misrepresenting me, Brie?
Chirp.
Like, who cares, bro? And again, she's not even naming him. She's just still making broad criticisms of the Twitter files. Matt Taibbi was not the only journalist involved in the Twitter files. He was one of 6 or something like that. But he takes all of these comments so personally, even though he has more followers than Briahna. He has more of a platform. He gets invited on Fox News all the time.
Still, but her Brie wouldn't let you. This is fucking hilarious. Go put that back up. He's posting his own L's. LOL, still, but her Brie wouldn't let you mislead people about your relationship with Elon on her show. Give it up, man. You won. She got fired. Wham, wham, wham. Brie asked me a hard question. That's bullying, petulant. I believe the word you're looking for is uppity. Heck on. That's the perfect image to describe Matt Taibbi for the past 24 hours.
He didn't ask me a hard question, and there wasn't any question that I didn't answer quickly and willingly. Also, that's not fucking true. Remember when she was like, name one Twitter file story that was important for the left, and he was like, and then he said something that neither of us even knew what the fuck he was talking about.
Oh, that was real important for the left. Yeah. No, dude, you were a fucking stooge. Bob Dylan sang that song. You're only a pawn in their game. You maybe heard that record when you were a kid, Matt.
Disrespects her co-hosts. Lies. Like I said, I haven't even seen all of these. Do you think I was the only one complaining? Oh, does that mean you were fucking messaging her?
After being petulant with the sister of a hostage, she claims she's a martyr for Palestine. You think the Hill didn't look at unprofessionalism? No, they don't look at unprofessionalism. Have you seen the way Robbie Swover behaves on that fucking podcast?
Yeah,
news broadcast, whatever it is, editorial comment section. I don't fucking know. That it's crazy that you would believe that. He's an absolute fucking mark.
Also,
dude.
She gets disrespect. She was the one that got disrespected by Robbie constantly. We played those clips over and over again. He would slam his fists on the desk, yell, threaten to end the show early. This is just blatant fucking sexism too, where if you're a woman and you get even remotely like uncomfortable or upset in a professional setting, everyone immediately starts pearl clutching and acting like you're a bully and petulant, when your male white co-host can do that shit all day every day and everyone just fucking applauds him in the comments. Just fuck you for feeding into this, Matt Taibbi. I genuinely thought Matt Taibbi was better than this.
He always has. I mean, like, if we want to talk about people complaining about Matt Taibbi, bro, guys,
That's
Google
true.
Matt Taibbi sexism
true.
allegations. You're going to read about 150 fucking articles.
Yeah.
So if people want, who cast the first stone? Bitch, it's me. Fuck you thought, right? Like, go ahead and start taking a look at those articles.
God,
Go look up the hot coffee article. Matt Taibbi has a long history of being a douchebag, good writer, brilliant writer, douchebag, right? I'd rather be a good guy, crappy writer. You know what I mean? Call me a simpleton.
Yeah. And let's look at like the replies. Like, it's just a bunch of fucking right wingers, except for this base comrade, Matt, you're in a hole, stop digging. But a lot of the people here
trying to reach him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just right wingers. Like, we're so close. Like, yeah, he's almost 100% one of us guys.
I thought that was a person that was saying we're so close to Matt, just like full on, like just contorting his body and.
Yeah. LOL, you're bald. But yeah, also there's another funny one where if you go down, he denies this being an alcohol induced.
Yeah, well, who cares? It's still funny to assume.
Someone says, "Thanks, Matt. How many beers have you had tonight?" He says, "None. I don't drink." And to be honest, that makes this even funnier. Just picturing like a grown ass sober man staying up all night, tweeting at randos, tweeting at the Vanguard, unloading all of his like petty personal grievances with a colleague from 6 months ago on a public forum. Like, yeah, bro, that makes you sound even more like a fucking sociopath. It would have been way more relatable if you were just like 3 beers deep and were feeling a little bit spicy. Everyone has those moments. But to just be like, nope, I'm 100% serious, cold and sober, sitting here at my desktop tweeting, like, bro, go
sitting
play
there
catch with your son,
drinking a glass of milk.
Yeah, drinking a glass
staring
of milk.
at the computer screen coldly, pulse coming out of his temple. What has the world come to? Our last tool for truth. The last keyboard warrior for Elon Musk.
But honestly, maybe he should have a beer. He doesn't drink, but maybe he should. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he should try to toke a marijuana smoke.
Yeah.
Huh? You live a little.
Exactly. Anyway, I guess that basically brings us to the end of this entire saga, at least for now. I'm sure Matt Taibbi will only continue to embarrass himself, and we'll be happy to react to it, to roast him going forward. But yeah, this is definitely a new low.